Hello everyone, TheDerpHog here, and today we're celebrating something special. I have hit 500 subscribers! Woohoo! So, in honor of me hitting that milestone, today I'm going to be showing you all the highways that I've been on as of this recording. I know that I'm going to be on a couple of new highways coming up soon, but I'm going to be showing those in this video along with the current highways that I've currently been on. So let's get started with this celebration video. So these are all the highways that I've been on, starting with US 1. I've been on it basically from a town called Montier, North Carolina, all the way up to its split with Interstate 440 and downtown Raleigh. I've also been on US 1 from basically northern Richmond all the way up to Stafford, Virginia, which is about 10 miles north of Fredericksburg. I've also been on US 1 between the southern terminus of US 222 all the way down to Baltimore to Interstate 695. The next US highway I've been on is US Highway 6, basically the 12-mile concurrency with Interstate 80 and 94 in the Gary, Indiana area. I've also been on Interstate 10, basically just within the entire city of Pensacola. I've also been on US Highway 11 entirely in the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've also been on US Highway 13 entirely within the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina. I've also been on US 15, basically from the eastern edge of Durham all the way up to its split with Interstate 85. And I've also been on it from Frederick, Maryland all the way up to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I've also been on it exactly on it in Pittsburgh. I literally walked on 15501. I've also been on US 17 at 3 different spots. I've been on it from the 3-mile concurrency with North Carolina 24 in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I've also been on it from the split with Interstate 66 all the way down to the split with West 1 in Northern Virginia. And then one time I went on a school field trip, and the route we took to get Myrtle Beach involved US 17, so I've been on that part of US 17 as well. The next major highway I've been on is Interstate 20, basically from Birmingham to Atlanta. When I lived up in Huntsville, me and my family went to a Braves game, so Interstate 20 involved our route. I've also been on Interstate 24. As of this time of the recording, the only part of Interstate 24 that I've officially been on is from the split with US 72 all the way over to Chattanooga, and a little bit in Nashville, but I will be going on a trip soon up to Springfield, Illinois, where I will be taking Interstate 24 from Nashville all the way up to Interstate 57. Same thing with US 25, I've never been on it, but when I take this trip in a couple weeks, I will be on US 25 from US 276 to Interstate 26. Same thing with Interstate 26, when I take my trip in a few weeks, I'm going to be on it from US 25 all the way up to Interstate 40 in Asheville. I've also been on US Highway 30 from Gettysburg to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I've also been on US 31 basically from the town of Hartselle, Alabama all the way up to the Alabama and Tennessee border, so basically entirely in northern Alabama. I've also been on basically 1 mile of US Highway 33 in the state of Virginia, and as you can look at the map here, it's just concurrent with US 522. I've also been on US 35 and was concurrent with Interstate 70 in eastern Indiana / western Ohio. I've also been on US Highway 36 when it is concurrent with Interstate 72 in central Illinois. I've also been on both US 40 and Interstate 40. US 40 is when it's concurrent with Interstate 70 and 68. And as of this time of the recording, I've only been on Interstate 40 basically from Knoxville all the way down to Wilmington, North Carolina. But when I take my trip in a couple of weeks, it'll be basically from Nashville to Wilmington, North Carolina. Now I've been on US 41 entirely in the city of Chicago. I took it from where it meets Interstate 55 all the way up to Navy Pier. I've also been on US 51, where it is concurrent with Interstates 55 and 74 in Bloomington Normal, and Interstate 72 in Decatur, Illinois. I've also been on US Highway 52 in Joliet, Illinois, and in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I've also been on Interstate 55, basically from Springfield all the way up to Chicago, but when I take my trip in a couple weeks, I'll basically be on it from the St. Louis area all the way up to Chicago. I've also been on Interstate 57, basically from Interstate 74 all the way down to Interstate 72 in the Champaign-Urbana area. But when I take my trip in a couple weeks, I'll be taking it from Interstate 24 to Interstate 64 in Mount Vernon. I've also been on Interstate 59 when it is concurrent with Interstate 20 in the Birmingham area. I've also been on both 64s. I've been on US 64 from Asheboro, North Carolina, all the way over to Rocky Mount. And I've also been on Interstate 64. At the time of this recording, I've only been on it from US 522 down to Richmond, Virginia at Interstate 95. But when I take my trip, I'm going to be on it from Illinois Highway 4 to Interstate 57. I've also been on basically the entirety of Interstate 65 except for the last 70 miles in southern Alabama. I've also been on Interstate 66 from its western terminus all the way over to the exit for US 17 South. I've been on the entirety of Interstate 68. I've also been on both US 70s. I've been on Interstate 70 basically east of Indiana all the way over to Baltimore, except for where it's concurrent with the Pennsylvania Turnpike and through Columbus, Ohio, and Wheeling, West Virginia. And for US 70, I've been on it basically from Durham all the way down to Morehead City. I've also been on both 72s. I've been on Interstate 72, basically the entire route east of Springfield. And I've been on US 72, basically from Athens, Alabama, all the way up to where it meets Interstate 24 in the town of Kimball, Tennessee. I've also been on Interstate 73, just in the southern leg of the Greensboro Urban Loop. I've also been on both 74s, where Interstate 74 is concurrent with Interstate 55 in Bloomington Normal. And I've also been on it from Champaign-Urbana all the way down to Indianapolis, and where it starts from Interstate 95 to North Carolina 41. And I've also been on US 74 basically from Interstate 95 down to North Carolina 410. It was part of the route I took from when I went to Myrtle Beach a couple years ago. I've also been on Interstate 75 basically from Atlanta to Knoxville. The Atlanta part was part of a moving trip I took in 2012 from Athens, Alabama over to Raleigh, North Carolina. I've also been on Interstate 79 basically from Morgantown up to Washington, PA, not Washington, D.C. I've also been on Interstate 80 from basically Lincoln, Nebraska to Gary, Indiana. Honestly, I don't remember anything west of Interstate 55 in the Chicago area, so apparently I was on Interstate 80 when I was really young, and I don't remember it. I've also been on Interstate 81 basically from the Winchester outer loop to Interstate 66, so like 10 miles or so. I've also been on Interstate 83 basically within the entirety of the Harrisburg area. I've also been on Interstate 85 basically from Atlanta all the way up to its northern terminus in Petersburg, Virginia. And I've also been on the North Carolina's version of Interstate 87, sadly. And then I've also been on the western Interstate 88 in the Chicagoland area from Aurora over to its eastern terminus at the Tri-State Tollway. And then I've also been on Interstate 94, where it's concurrent with Interstate 80 from its split over to where 8094 meets Interstate 65. I've also been on Interstate 95, not the part that Todd said that people know of what Interstate 95 is known for. I've actually been on it from the North Carolina-South Carolina border all the way up to Washington, D.C. So I've never been on Interstate 95 north of Washington, D.C. And let's see all the 3-digit US highways / interstates that I've been on. And these are all the 3-digit US highways / interstates that I've been on as of this time of the recording. I've been on all of these except for US 276, which I'm going to be taking in my trip soon. So these are the ones I've been on personally. I've been on 301, 401, 501, 601, 701, 220, 460, 222, 322, 422 Eastern, 522, 264, 421, 158, 117, 231 and 431, 258, and US 219. I've been on the Capital Beltway of Interstate 495 and then the Wheeling Bypass 470, both the DC Connector 270 and the Columbus Beltway 270. Then I've been on Interstate 295 of the Fayetteville Beltway and the Richmond Bypass. I've also been on Interstate 565, Interstate 540 in the Raleigh area, Interstate 440 in the Raleigh area, Interstates 355 and 294 in the Chicagoland area. I've also been on Interstate 140 in the Wilmington area, and I've been on the Baltimore Beltway, Interstate 695, and I've also been on Interstate 385, Interstate 885, Interstate 110 in Pensacola, and finally Interstate 465 or the Indianapolis Beltway. And those are all the highways that I've been on as of this recording. Again, I want to say thank you guys for subscribing. It really means a lot to me. I know 500 subscribers is not a big milestone, but to me it is. I've had this channel for a little over 3 years now, and I finally reached a milestone that I wanted to achieve. So again, thank you guys for doing this so much for me, and I hope you guys are enjoying my highways content, because I do make it for y'all, and I do like learning about these different highways across the United States of America. So with that, I want to say thank you guys, and I'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more videos made by me, click on the either two card links that are shown on the screen, and please subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And remember, everyone's awesome.